When we first decided to live aboard our sailboat, I don't think we really knew what living a life afloat was going to be like. With the stresses that we had on land life, it's easy to romanticise what a life afloat would be like, thinking only of images of sailing in the most perfect conditions, anchoring in places with crystal clear waters and white sandy beaches, always on the move exploring something new and exciting, a life of adventure. Over the last 2 years we've been so fortunate to have these experiences and more, exploring the beautiful northern coastline of New Zealand and some of its outer islands. But this lifestyle has also required us to overcome challenges. Some challenges are to do with the lifestyle, such as adapting to a different type of comfort and learning that there is a difference between discomfort and being unsafe. Other challenges are more personal, but what this lifestyle has taught us is you only have two options really. Either dig deep within yourself to overcome these challenges or reconsider what you are doing. This lifestyle teaches you a lot about yourself, and if you're willing to dig deep, then the rewards that follow are like nothing else we've ever experienced. I knew that if I wanted to continue to have these incredible experiences, see places I've only ever dreamed of seeing, and continue to build memories and see the most incredible sunrises that everyone always talks about, then I was going to have to dig deep and overcome some personal challenges, which started with me sailing up to Whangaroa, where we also collected our brand new stay sail. Since then, we have been preparing for the next step in our big adventure, including trying our stay sail. Now that we're ready to go, it was time for me to dig deep again, and this time it would have to be really deep, and sail from the Bay of Islands to Great Barrier Island, which included doing my first overnight sail, a 79.7 nautical mile trip that would take us just over 15 hours. So join us as we depart Deepwater Cove in the beautiful Bay of Islands and take Taiko on a shakedown cruise to ensure both her and her crew are ready for the next big step. Very nice conditions. You did well.
Cape Breton to starboard.
Cape Breton to starboard, babies. We're saying goodbye to the Bay of Islands just for a few months. It's a bit sad really because we've got lots of good friends here that's been our home for nearly 2 years. So yeah, we'll go back down to Moeaki Golf for a few months and then we'll be back up.
Yeah, it is a bit sad, eh?
Yeah, it is a bit sad.
Yeah.
But we do have our friends joining us along the way, so
Yeah.
it'll make the cutting of the apron strings a bit easier.
It's Percy Island in the background, and we're just debating whether to go through the gap between the mainland or go around. It's plenty deep enough to go through, so we'll just have a look at the sea state, check there's nothing funny going on, and make a decision.
Very light wind, we have about 9 to 11 knots of wind. There's a headwind that it'll change as we round. The swell's about a metre, easterly swell, not too bad. Cape Breton Lighthouse up there. We never could make it there walking, but we've made it this way. Haha.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah. Cape Breton Lighthouse has been working since 1910, but before that it is said that the dawn light that reflected off Cape Breton itself has a 1,000-year heritage of signalling sailors and Māori arriving in New Zealand, ensuring their safe passage to landfall. As we rounded Cape Breton Lighthouse, I began to reflect on what this actually meant to me. The reason is, when it was time for us to sail north from the Hauraki Gulf to the Bay of Islands, I didn't want to do it. A couple of experiences before we were due to make this trip had set me back by quite a lot. These experiences, added to the stories I'd heard about Cape Breton and how rough it could be rounding it, made me even more nervous. Instead of sailing Taiko up the coast with Adam, I caught the bus north and Adam sailed the boat with the help of someone else. At the time I had built this coastal passage, and the rounding of Cape Breton is something so big in my mind that it had become this mammoth mountain for me to climb. Although the 1 metre easterly swell that was coming through the channel between Percy Island and Cape Breton made it rolly and uncomfortable, as we rounded Cape Breton in these perfect conditions, instead of being afraid, I'd started to realise how beautiful Cape Breton was from the ocean and how lucky I was to be seeing Cape Breton from Taiko. The waves crashing up the rock faces, its raw natural beauty, and seeing all the seabirds sitting so comfortably in this environment that was so familiar to them kept me in the moment. And just like that, as quickly as we approached Cape Breton, we had rounded and we were leaving it. This cape that had been a long-standing barrier for me, we had rounded in what felt like minutes. It was over, and all I could do was watch it as it faded into the distance. For me, this was a truly beautiful moment. Something that had been so frightening to me was actually something that was really beautiful. Soon we would be passing the Poor Night Islands as we slowly motor-sailed our way down the coast towards Great Barrier Island. So we're 8 nautical miles from Great Barrier, and I think the passage was 83.3 nautical miles. We left Deepwater Cove at 3:10 or 15:10. Got to Cape Brett at about 3:30, which is what Adam wanted, and it was a bit upwind, so we just motored through it to get through. We couldn't leave earlier because it was a southwesterly, quite strong, and so we had to wait for it to clock around like Adam said. And we also didn't want to get to Great Barrier when it was dark. So it's just coming up sunrise, and it's been an interesting sail. It was very dark, there was no moon. The moon decided to start rising at 20 to 5, which wasn't helpful. It was like a crescent moon. But it was very dark, and we had a bit of wind, and we were hooning along quite nicely until the poor nights, and we lost the wind. But we had a metre easterly swell, and it was very uncomfortable. We had that all the way with no wind, but the easterly swell all the way from Cape Brett all the way to the Hen and Chicken Islands, where they sort of started blocking it, and then the wind picked up again, the westerly filled in, and so we've got 14 knots, I don't know, on the beam, and yeah, it's nice now. Beta Marines had a good workout, so we've motor sailed most of it, but we've tried to sail where we can. But yeah, strong westerlies are meant to kick in later today, so we just need to get in now. But it's been a good passage. There's lots and lots of Bullis shearwaters, I think they're Bullis shearwaters, on the ocean here. And they give you a fright at night because they're sitting on the water and then suddenly they fly past the boat and you see this flash of white. But anyway, that's it for now. And there it was, that beautiful sunrise everyone talks about. Not only was I spoiled by the sunrise over Great Barrier Island, but as the westerly wind started to fill in, it skimmed across the small waves, adding to this already beautiful vista. We had the perfect conditions as we sailed towards Great Barrier Island. We're just coming into the Great Barrier Island now, coming into Port Fitzroy. Unfortunately, there's this pest seaweed that's been spread, and they're trying to contain it. So we're going to try and be careful with our anchor and cleaning it to make sure that we're not part of the problem. But isn't it beautiful? And in case you're wondering, I'm talking to you through the Bimini and whatever the thing's called, the clear between the Bimini and the Dodger, because I'm supposed to be watching for traffic for Adam, because the sun's quite bright on the water. But have another look. As we entered Port Fitzroy Harbour, I couldn't believe I'd done it. It had been a passage 2 years in the making, and I'd finally done it and conquered some of my biggest fears. I'd built this passage up so much in my mind over the last 2 years that it soon became apparent that it is possible that the thought of doing something becomes worse than the actual doing of it. I hope you've enjoyed this video where I've shared with you a really personal journey of growth, and I hope that whatever challenges you are facing, you will find a way to overcome them and pass your Cape Brett to starboard. Thank you for watching, and join us next time where we start to explore Aotea, also known as Great Barrier Island, and I start to reap the rewards of overcoming sailing round Cape Brett to starboard. See you next time.